What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is An American Beauty by Shana Abe. I found this book during Prime Reading Day a couple months ago in 2024. If you're watching backwards, appreciate you being here. Either way, I bought it for only $8, and I'm so glad I took a chance on this book. I've never heard of it before, and I never heard of the author before. I love the cover. I'm gonna put it right here because I can't find my physical copy. It's a little messy in my office lately, but we love technology, so here it is. I love it. The colors and the dress really stands out to me. I gave this book 5 stars, though it's more so 4.5 stars if you want to get technical, but I bumped it up. I'll explain a bit later on the details regarding the 4.5 stars, but let's summarize the book first. We are going to follow Arabella Huntington in the Gilded Age of America, and she is a real woman. She was one of the wealthiest women of this time period, but she was not born into privilege. She was born very, very poor in Virginia, and she had to do quite a few things that she didn't necessarily want to do. I'm not going to spoil what, though. To get to where she was, in the point where we were meeting her, she had to do things that she didn't want to do, like her job working at a illegal gambling den in Richmond, Virginia. And then her family is still dirt poor. They're still starving. Their roof is just barely hanging on. Everything's old. But she meets Collis Huntington, a very, very, very rich man that goes to that illegal gambling den, and he becomes infatuated with her. And she agrees after a few months to become his mistress and to move up to New York City on the basis of she also gets to bring her whole family. So she has multiple siblings and her mother is still alive. Collis Huntington agrees, and that's really where the interesting stuff begins. I've never heard of Arabella, but she was, as I said, the richest woman of her time, and she lived the American dream, whether some people want to admit that or not, because she married up, and that's how she got her wealth over time. And people, I think nowadays in the 21st century, especially women, don't necessarily understand that that's one of the few ways women became wealthy. Actually, probably like the only way if you're dirt poor, because generational wealth, her mom doesn't have it. Okay, they're all poor. There is no moving up for 2 single women, actually, like her whole family, no connections whatsoever. But she's really pretty. She can also play the piano. She knows how to socialize. So then she gets hired to work at this illegal gambling den compared to her other sisters who aren't like as talented or as pretty as her. Yeah, that kind of sucks, but at least they have some food. It's not enough, but they have some food, so they're not starving to death. And still, even with some little bit of wages that Arabella gets from the illegal gambling den, it's not enough. And so when Collis Huntington shows interest in her and she likes him, she thinks, this is my chance to not starve to death. This is my chance to not freeze to death, as well as my whole family. She, of course, brings her whole family. Her family, for the rest of their lives, were taken care of very well. They never starved or froze to death or anything like that. But it was a high chance before Collis Huntington showed interest and wanted Arabella as a mistress. And you know what? That was refreshing to read, because you usually don't see this type of story, though there's plenty of them out there, where the woman likes the man but doesn't love him, but she doesn't want to starve to death, right? Or freeze to death, or any of the deaths. So she marries the man that's interested in her, or she becomes mistress to the man that's interested in her. Basically a business transaction. Like I said, even men and women, everyone, I think a lot of people don't understand that for a very, very, very long time, marriage was a business transaction. It was not out of love. That was very rare. Did it happen? Of course it did. But it's mainly a business transaction, and this is what you see. Now, Arabella loves Collis Huntington in a friendshiply way. It's not necessarily romantic love, but she deeply cares for him and his family even, and there's whole things going on with that, but it's not a sweep me off my feet type of situation. This is more realistic, and it shows what women had to do to survive and to get ahead. There's like a couple of ways Arabella could be rich, and it involves a man. And shout out to those women, because it was really damn hard. It was hard. Yeah, I can't imagine, but I can imagine because I've heard so many stories where arranged marriage. Yep. And you don't even like him. Damn. At least Arabella liked Collis, right? There were many, 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 many women that did not like their husbands, and they still had to stay at this point in time in the Gilded Age. I mean, there were separations where, like, you know, she would maybe go to the countryside and he would stay in New York City, but you're still married. At least there's a separation, but that's scandalous, okay? So we can't really even be separated unless it's very, very bad. And divorce, extremely rare. I mean, it did happen, especially when there was one during the Gilded Age, oh my god, I'm blanking, where it was obvious that the woman was being beaten, and then it was like, yeah, you can now divorce, and it's like more of a scandal on his part, not her part. But I can really only think of one divorce during the Gilded Age. That's not great. Not great, y'all. It's not a great situation, y'all, okay? It's not great. So shout out to the women of the past. And also to know, Arabella already had a extremely hard life. She and her family were starving, and this man, Collis Huntington, met her at her job, the gambling den, and he asked her to be his mistress and to move to New York City. And she said yes, because her and her family's life depended on it. Very important. This is a theme throughout the novel. Her and her family's life depended on money. I mean, that's the same now. But it was hard for single women because it's her and her mom and multiple sisters and 2 brothers. It's hard. It's freaking hard, people. Can you understand? The situation is fascinating as a 21st century person looking back at the Gilded Age. At least I think so. Maybe you find it depressing. It's the same for me, but I just am in awe, if you haven't noticed, of the strength of women. I think, you know what? For what it is, Collis was a very nice and interesting and rich man, and that's better than a mean, violent, but rich man. And so, therefore, she knew that he was nice, interesting, will take care of her. That's better than passing it up. When you're looking at it in like that type of way, in like a rational, this time period way, he was a great match for her. And because he was very, very rich and she played her hand very, very well, she became rich after they married, because they're a married couple now. And she owned her own property. She owned multiple properties. And like I said, played it very smart. So smart, she became the richest woman in America after a certain amount of years that went by. I gave this book 4.5 stars, bumped it up to 5 for Goodreads because it's a mix of a diary form and real life flashbacks from between Arabella, her mother, and Arabella's stepdaughter. A little jarring at first, but after a while I got used to it. Probably about like 70 pages in, and this book is, at least my copy, is nearing 400 pages. Also, we are introduced to Arabella in the first chapter when she's older, through a young woman visiting her and pressuring Arabella to put up a lot of money to hush up a book about her and Collins's life. But let's just say Arabella is not having it, and we do appreciate a strong woman that will not cave to blackmail. And that is a setup because then you learn, I mean, it's like historical spoilers, if you can call it that. You learn all that I said throughout the novel, and I'm actually leaving out quite a bunch of things, believe it or not. So it's just like teeny spoilers. You learn a lot of things that for the time would be outrageous, disgusting, abhorrent. And so, of course, I totally, in some way, even though it's like a little cliche, we're starting off with this young woman trying to blackmail the richest woman in America with this book, like tell-all book. And Arabella's like, I've been through more shit. You're not gonna scare me. Get off my lawn. And we love to see it. But yeah, that is a little bit a lot at first, and it kind of gets a little slow in the beginning because we are setting up Arabella in Richmond, Virginia, and just seeing how bad her and her family have it. And so that is why she chooses to become a mistress to a very rich man and move all the way up to New York City and just ditch everything. Like, I get it. It's hard. It's really hard, and I get it. You go, girl. For that time period, you go, girl. And everything that she went through, yeah, I mean, a blackmail is not gonna do anything because, like, her life is like a soap opera. For real. I went on, and after this book was finished, I went to watch a few documentaries and read up on her, and I'm like, this is great. Yeah, the blackmail wouldn't have worked because also by around the time when she's, I'm like 50-ish, let's just go with 50, I forget the numbers, but in a little bit of the older years, everyone already knew like most of what was happening. So, but she was rich at this point. I want her money, basically, is what people are thinking. I want her money for these charities, and also she gives great gifts on Christmas. A lot of things happen, and you see most of it, but you don't see all of it in this novel. So I was reading up on the juicy details, and I was like, she is out there, and she didn't care. After a certain point, you're like, I don't care what you have to say. Yes, I was a mistress. Yes, I then married this man that picked me up in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm living my best life. And then there's some other things that happen. I'm not gonna tell you because that's shocking. I was shocked, everyone. So, of course, I recommend this novel. After my beautiful rant, if I do say so myself, it's not on sale, but sometimes it is on sale, so definitely check out An American Beauty. I will see you in the next review, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.